This draft update is perfect for Montreal Canadiens fans as some of the Canadiens' potential top targets are sliding down the draft board, meaning Montreal might have an even bigger choice than we thought. We have to get into that, plus a note on the Montreal Canadiens and Laval Rocket coaching staff that we'd love to discuss with you, and some end-of-season Habs awards as voted by you, the fans. All of that coming up on this live episode of Habs Digest. Welcome everyone into the stream. Hopefully you can hear us all good. I think, usually it's good. We kind of got this down to a science now. Welcome all 75 of you here already. And as we always do when we start these streams, give the stream a like, push it out to other Habs fans, your friends, your family, whoever it may be. We want everyone to share in on the fun. So thank you all for being here. Hello, salut, bonjour tout le monde. But Jesse, we're going to get straight into it, and it's something the fans would like. And we've hosted some polls over the last few days. Now, we only did 4. There might be some more to come, but we figured what better time to talk about it than right now on the stream. And let's start with the first poll that was put up, and that's the Habs Most Improved Player Award. And Jesse, this was, this was a landslide, and everyone expected it to be a landslide. The most improved player of this season, as voted on by the fans, is Juraj Slafkovsky. I'm seeing lots of comments about Slaf already. Slafzilla, Chadkovsky, whatever you want to call him. We got the straggler vote for Kaiden, Primeau, Nick Suzuki, Alex Newhook, and some people in the comments talking about Yoel Armia. But Jesse, it really seems time for Slafzilla. I feel like there was no other winner for this award, and I think he deserves it more than absolutely anyone.
No, that's for sure. And what a great story to really finish off the season, Josh, because imagine, those first part of the season was pretty rough. Imagine he finished it along that same pace and we're just like kind of wondering, okay, is he going to turn it around next year? We know he's still young, but we both be getting pretty worried at this point. Like in your second year, it's hard to say, but the NHL is so dog that's like he needed to do something this year, not only for himself, but also for this franchise so we can really kind of start taking the next step and start advancing. So this has been huge, right? His development, you have to feel like Marty's a big part of that, but there are a couple other guys, right? Like, there's even with your boy, Alex Newhook, right?
Yeah.
Like he played 27 less games than last year and still got a career high in goals. Now that for me, when I'm looking at, this is a player that's on the rise, that is improving, that's getting better. Tremendous to see as well. And again, Cayden Primeau, again, we got to give him a little bit of love. We know Slav, for sure he ran away with this one, but Cayden finishing off the season in the way that he did, absolutely incredible. We didn't know that. We didn't know that was for sure at the beginning of the year. We could say, okay, even though he's been up and down, we had some belief, but for him to really turn it on at the end and really finish strong, secure that second, position, string, I think it's huge for this team going forward.
Yeah, it's amazing. It was an awesome season for development across the board, right? Even with Cayden Guhle putting out a bit of a lower point total than we would expect. I thought his defensive game looked a lot better. He looked a bit more comfortable on the ice. There was a lot of great things. Even Mike Matheson going out there setting a career high in points and stuff, and goals and assists and all of this stuff. There's so much awesome stuff to talk about. But yeah, when it comes down to it, it's our boy. And the big thing with Slav was the fact that he was sitting in his office so much, right? Being in that office changed his season. Maybe not changed his season. He was getting there, and then that really elevated him at the final part of the season. But yeah, I mean, we all knew it was going to be Slav. So, thank you guys for all voting on that, by the way. And yeah, this is just a bit of fun for everyone, right? Talking about this. You guys voted. Leave your thoughts down in the comments here now in the live chat or in the comments below the video. I'm seeing a lot of people talking about Slav already, which I love. Talking about a nice potential Slav extension. So you guys keep discussing that, but we're going to move on to the next award, and I really liked this one, and this is the Goalie of the Future award. And Jesse, I know we have some thoughts on this, so we're going to start here by saying that most of you, 75% of you, 74% of you voted for Jacob Fowler. And I think that's very fair. I think Jacob Fowler is probably the top goalie prospect in the system. Us personally, I voted for Sam Montembeault just because I feel like, we're talking in the future. I guess it's kind of worded however it is. I said use whatever criteria you wish, but for me, I think Sam Montembeault over the next 3 years, or at least 2 while he's still here, and I think they could sign him to stick around for a little past that. I think it could be possible. I don't know. But Jesse, one guy that I feel like didn't get the respect he deserved here is Jacob Fowler. Not Jacob Fowler, Jakub Dobeš. They're spelled almost the same. Jakub Dobeš. This guy is 6'5". He had a phenomenal last, half to 3/4 of the year with Laval. like not the best goalie in the AHL by any means, but he's still young. He's like 22 years old, 6'5", and after a tough start, he really stepped up his game and he improved so much as the season went on. And that is one of those factors that we really love to see as Habs fans, a player, let alone a goalie, who is able to really up their game when they start struggling at first to improve, and to be that guy that almost helped backstop them to the playoffs.
For sure. Yeah. Jacob Fowler, it's looking like, he's kind of that goalie of destiny for the future, but he's going to have some tough competition. Obviously, Volokin is a guy that's on a lot of Habs fans' radars right now. But yeah, for Dobeš, right? Like according to JF Poole, the head coach of the Laval Rocket, that was their most improved player this year.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to feel as he kind of continues to improve, like his second part of the season was a lot better. You have to feel like if he's able to start next year with the Laval Rocket playing on that same pace, this is going to help this team, the Rocket, make the playoffs tremendously, right? So with him playing better, it's obviously going to help the team out quite a bit. And he did have a very solid second half of his season, right? And he's a young guy at the same, that great size. He was coming into the HL, and it's kind of normal to have those progressions, right? Like you kind of take some step up, you might kind of go sideways for a little bit, and then you come back up. Like Hughes has even said he expects this from players, like not just from Jakob Dobeš, but pretty much any prospect of this in the system. This is going to happen. It's all really part of it. It's just, what is he going to really do next year? Because he does have an opportunity to possibly play some games in the NHL if he does have a good season next year.
I mean, I think it's becoming more and more common. Like when you have a two goalie NHL tandem, like most of the teams, Montreal was very much an outlier with their three, you're going to have to get a few games from that third goalie. A lot of teams even using four, a little injury, a little maintenance, like a back-to-back. You never know what happens. So I think Dobeš right now is the next guy in line. He straight up is. There's no question about it. Maybe Kaskisuo, actually. I mean, I think he'll be around for next year. You never really know, but Dobeš is that guy right now, and I think he is the next guy, like you said, to get that call up if some guys are injured. But regardless, I think Jacob Fowler is probably the correct vote over Jakob Dobeš. I'm not going to deny that. I think Fowler definitely has the higher ceiling, but I wouldn't sleep on Dobeš. Like, it would not surprise me to see him be in that top 10, top 15 AHL goalie level next year at the young age of 23 years old. And I think he could do a bit more than we all expect. And before we move on to the next award, guys, thank you so much for liking. Thank you to almost 200 of you being in here. I just wanted to say, like, there's a lot of chats here, a lot of people talking about, I see Evgeny Volokin, Real Hoopty, you're a real one. You've been around for a while. There's a lot of people talking about contract extensions, other prospects. We will be answering messages in priority order if you are a channel member. I know there's a lot of channel members in here probably, and also if you give any kind of donation, we will be answering those in priority. I'll try to get to these other messages as much as we can, but yeah, just wanted to let you guys know. I see someone asking about Cole Hudson and Atos Koivu. Hoopty again, yeah, very, very possible. The Habs love to get brothers. We saw Florian, we saw the Pitlicks, we see all that kind of stuff. And I'm seeing people argue about Slav's AAV. We might get into that a bit later, who knows, but we've talked about that in a few videos, and I think we've made our points clear. Go check out the a couple of our Slav streams, and you might get a good idea. But Jesse, it's time to move into the next award, and this is the Defensive Player of the Year award, and this one to me was actually one of the most curious ones, because I thought this could go any which way. Not Defenseman of the Year, but Defensive Player of the Year. Who was the best at defense for Montreal? And again, Yoel Armia was an honorable mention here because of his penalty killing prowess, but overall his advanced metrics were just not really up to par with some of these other guys. But David Savard, Jake Evans, Nick Suzuki, Cayden, Guhle. Our vote was for David Savard, and I think just because of his sheer amount of block shots, his sheer amount of saves, he was that solid big body back there. But Jesse, it's extremely hard to argue against any of these guys, really. Suzuki being one of the best two-way players in the league should get Selke votes. Jake Evans being that penalty kill specialist, that center who will win you that draw when you're down and out. The vote went to Savard, but I could really be swung for Evans or Suzuki on this one. Guhle is probably the outlier for me, but this is one of the toughest ones, and I think the fans, they felt that too.
Yeah, David Savard got a lot of respect just for the amount of block shots, the heart and soul that he really showed for this team this year, right? I think he really endeared himself to a lot of Habs fans. He took a step up from last year, and this year really just, was such a motivational force on this team, getting everybody, all the troops, all the boys on the bench just fired up every time he was blocking the shot. So for sure, that's going to get a lot of love from the fans for sure. But yeah, I think a strong argument, from there, and probably my vote would be for Nick Suzuki, just for the fact of Kirby Dach being injured, he was having those toughest defensive, lineups, every matchups, every night as that first line, and just not really getting that much support to do as much as he did offensively, while still obviously never sacrificing that defensive game that we really know and love from him, right? I think is tremendous. And not only that, but he's had that effect also on Caufield, who I feel as a result of him, it's not talked about, but a lot of it's that Nick Suzuki effect of Caufield with his much better defensive play this year, right? So Nick's definitely part of that, and also Slav. We know he's about the 200-foot game there as well. So it's the Suzuki effect. That's why I need to give it to him there.
I think that's fair. And Jesse, what better time to transition? Talk about the Suzuki effect. That's awesome. We got our first super chat of the stream. And who else but Angie? Angie, every single stream with the donation, she said, we need a poll to figure out who is the #1 fan of Habs Digest. Well, why don't we just do that? Who? Let's do. Who is the #1 Habs Digest fan?
You hear that, George?
George, yeah, we'll toss. We got a couple there, Angie. We got George. And there's a lot of channel members. There's like 10 of you guys, but I can only put a couple options here. I'm going to put someone else. That's all. I'm going to put someone else.
Can't choose.
You guys can vote for yourself, but we're going to toss that there. I'm just saying, Angie gave the donation. You guys better be voting at this point. But hey, shout out to George. I don't know if you're going to be watching this, George, if you're here, or if you're going to be in the comments after. George has been a fan for so long, leaving comments on every single video. But amazing. Thank you so much again for the super chat. Unbelievable support from you and from this whole community, right? Like every single stream, we get donations, people paying to listen to us speak. It's unbelievable. So thank you so much for the donation to the stream. And yeah, look at that. Some people voting for themselves here, but the leader is so far Angie. We'll let that poll settle down a bit. I think a lot of people are voting for themselves, but thank you very much. Jesse, it's time to move on to the final award. And this one, well, there was no doubt about this one. We thought Slaf being the most improved was a lock. It certainly was. But to me, there was no other choice for MVP other than Nick Suzuki. And I don't think you could possibly make an argument for Caufield, for Matheson. I mean, like, you could maybe make an argument. What actually surprised me here is Slav came in second. I kind of love that. I would personally have Matheson second, I think. But Nick Suzuki being the MVP of this team, he is the leader. He is the captain. He had the most goals. He had the most points. He was arguably the team's best defensive player. And he was doing this against the toughest matchups in the league, putting up these points with, very little supporting cast behind him. He is like he could be the MVP on so many teams. Like, just like for what he gave to this Montreal Canadiens team in this state, he might be one of the most valuable players in the entire league relative to their team. Like, Nick Suzuki's contribution to the Montreal Canadiens, I think rivals, and maybe not as high as some of these other guys, but it's definitely up there in the NHL in terms of how much one player can impact his team.
And I think that's because of his hockey IQ, right? He's kind of like Marty St. Louis in that way. It's just, they think the game so well, the deception, everything else. And you have to feel like Nick Suzuki is just going to keep getting exponentially so much better, as we saw such a big jump this year. I'm saying that again for next year because this is a guy who feeds off experience. When you have the amount of hockey IQ that he has, obviously the skills, once you get that experience, you're really able to allow your intelligence to really kind of take over a game in so many different facets. This is the difference with Nick Suzuki. Make no mistake about it, he is one of the smartest players in the NHL, and the way that he is so deceptive offensively, but also defensively, right? There's so much of his intelligence that being able to read the play that really leads into that. So just being able to really have a thinking man's player, in Nick Suzuki, but also with so much skill as well, right? He showed he's the leader of this team that we deserve, that we needed him to be this year, right? Just in every way, every category, stepping up. You have to feel like if he can do this now, just imagine when you got Kirby Dach backing you up on that second line, and even more of a supporting cast as this team continues to grow, right? He's just going to continue to take huge leaps forward.
It's unbelievable. Like, that's one thing too, like you said, these leaps forward, like, it's going to be exciting to see, when that supporting cast does get in there, when Suzuki isn't required to do as much as he is now, how much that's going to impact him to not always have the top defensive matchup, to not always have to go out there and produce every single night or else you lose, right? There's all kinds of factors here, but anyway, regardless, it's a clear MVP for me, clear MVP for you, clear MVP for everyone else. But hey, this could very well change next year. We don't know where Slav is going. We don't know if Caufield's going to bounce back. There's a lot of question marks, but hey, super thrilled with the production. I'm going to end the poll there now as well, Jesse. It looks like someone else actually edged out Angie, and that answer being someone else, I assume that's people voting for themselves. Fair enough. Oh, But you know what? We might have to add someone else to that, Jesse. We might have to rerun it. I don't know, because we got John Raymond coming in at 1 penny less, $9.99. Thank you so much, John. Unbelievable support. John is one of the top supporters of the channel as well. Thank you so much for being here, John. We really, really appreciate it. Are the Habs a legit playoff team next year? Well, Jesse, before we get into the draft stuff that we were going to talk about, let's answer this question from John, because of course, you leave a super chat, you get your question answered every single time. Are the Habs a legit playoff team next year? I think if we just look at it in a vacuum, my answer would be, I don't know. I don't think I can say with confidence that this team will be a playoff team next year. And I can't say with confidence that this team will be bad again. What I can say with confidence is that these guys want to be playing meaningful games late into the year. And I will say it's very likely that game 70 and onward, we will be playing games that mean something for the first time in a few years. That's what I'm confident in saying. I think we want to be certain, Jesse, about this being a playoff team, we either need a couple of guys to even up their game more, whether it's Slav, Caufield, Monty, Primeau, some of these guys, Dach coming back, or we need to get a nice, great player, whether it's through the draft or through free agency or through a trade or a combination of the both. But for right now, I feel like I'm not confident enough to say this is a playoff team, but hey, I'd love to be proven wrong.
It's tough, right? And it's going to be, I think, a match, right down to the end. It's going to go right down to the razor's, edge. And even if we don't get in, I don't think it's the end of the world, just because obviously our whole division is just so tough right now. But you have to feel like next year we're going to have some big things going in our favor that's going to allow us to get there. First off, we're going to have a first line that we know they're going to hit the ground running. Of course, there can be little times where you plateau a little bit. For a large part, you have to feel like that first line is going to be firing. Obviously, having Kirby Dach back is going to help. Feeling like we're going to get additions to this team to help really move it forward. If it's not that big free agent signing yet this summer, you have to feel like there's trades that are going to help this team be better next year. They really want to improve, because there is an argument to be made of developing also by winning, of kind of getting that winning when it is the right time, that you also want to get that experience. So you get that practice, you know what it's like, because obviously you need to establish that winning culture for it to really continue on a long-term basis, right? That's going to be so important. But, you have to feel like they're really going to be taking some huge steps. We're not going to be doing those trades to kind of hurt us to get maybe a better draft ranking next year. Those trades are over now. We're really taking a big step. We're not going to be getting rid of a Sean Monahan type, which really helps us win games so much. You have to feel like if we're keeping a Sean Monahan, we're maybe making goalie trade a little bit earlier. It's very easy that we're drafting maybe now at the 10th spot instead of the 5th, right? Which really changes our positioning a lot. So I think it mattered to really do it right this year. But with those 1-goal games, this team is better than it looks. So I really feel honestly that we're going to be battling right to the end for a playoff spot next year, and that's going to be very exciting.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm right on board with you. I think it's going to be a ton of fun. Also, shout out Zachary. By the way, you asked how my tea was. It's very good. It's a vanilla spice chai. So for you people who like tea, it's underrated to calm yourself down after a day at work. But also, Jesse, we got another super chat. So I gotta get into this super chat from Real Milton Bradley. Is that the real Milton Bradley? You make the games? He said, "Hi guys, I want to hear Jesse go for one sentence in French. Jesse, take it away."
Merci d'être là avec nous ce soir. J'apprécie vraiment tout le support de vous autres, de mes Québécois, de mes Canadiens, de tous nos fans par rapport à tout le monde entier. Merci beaucoup.
Moi, j'habite à Québec aussi, donc moi, j'essaie. On parle pas souvent en français, mais des fois, on peut le faire, oui, si vous voulez. Des fois, on peut parler un peu en français, mais merci beaucoup, Real Milton Bradley. Gros stream à soir. But yeah, thank you very much for that. And I also see some messages in there asking you guys to give likes, and really appreciate you guys asking for likes in the chat without us doing it. But guys, we're at 64. You know that we love to get to 100 likes. We got 262 of you guys in here, so come on, let's get those numbers up to 100. I know you guys can do it.
Like spike.
Let's go. Like spike. I don't even have it. I need to get the like spike back. I need to get the OG Digest Media animations back, but oh boy, to Quebec ici. Yes, we got a few Quebecois here. Your accents are awesome. Well, Jesse's definitely better than mine, but Jesse, you grew up in Quebec. I did not. I did not. I did early French immersion, but hey, thank you, really appreciate it. We can do more French if you guys ask us to, but hey, I think it's cool. I think that's nice to see get the fans to know that we can connect with this Quebec audience, right? So, I was asking a question. Well, we'll leave that. We'll leave that out. So I'll cut that out of the out of the actual video. We're gonna move on because there's a lot of stuff we got to talk about, and this is what the hook of the video was about, guys. We want to talk a bit about Cayden Lindstrom. Now, well, Cayden Lindstrom and the rest of the draft. Cayden Lindstrom, though, guys, as you guys know, has been dealing with some injuries. Cayden Lindstrom had dealt with multiple injuries in the second half of the season. He broke a hand in the middle of the season and has also been dealing with symptoms of a back injury. Lindstrom returned in time for Game 1 of Medicine Hat's playoff opener, but looked off in the series. And we heard some stuff about Berkeley Catton as well. But Jesse, what this leads to is Sportsnet's most recent draft rankings of just a few days ago. Well, here's their top 5. I mean, no real surprises there. Macklin Celebrini, they have Artyom Levshunov up at number 2, which is fair. I mean, he had a fantastic season at Michigan State. Demidov at number 3, it's good. Silyev, 6'7" player in the KHL. And Karty Yakemchuk, a lot of defensemen here. 3 defensemen. And then, okay, well, where are they going to put Cayden Lindstrom? Where are they going to put Berkeley Catton? Well, if you look here, they have Catton at 9, Tisha Ginla at 10. They don't even have Cayden Lindstrom in the top 10. Now, we can go back and circle back to any of these players if you guys want to know. You guys love talking about some of these draft prospects. But they have Cayden Lindstrom at 11. They said with his latest setback, there's some concern that the injuries that limited Lindstrom to 36 games are more lasting than originally thought. And they have Cole Eiserman at 12. Completely aware of why he slid, Eiserman will be a fascinating study at the under-18s, where the U.S. isn't the heavy favorite. There's a lot of problems with Cole Eiserman, as we know. His playmaking really lacks these one-dimensional shooters that come from the program he's in. You look at a guy like Arthur Kaliev, who's fine at the NHL level. There's a couple guys who have come out with great shots who have just not put together the high-level career. But Jesse, the big thing is Cayden Lindstrom. He was mocked as high as 3 on some mock drafts I was seeing. He has now slid out of the top 10 on some. I think if Montreal has been targeting him, which they should, I think this is just music to their ears, because no matter where Montreal lands, whether it's 1, 2, whether it's 5, 6, it doesn't matter. But even number 7, Montreal could very well still get Cayden Lindstrom, and this absolutely thrills me.
For sure, because the fact that we have a really good chance at an amazing offensive player drafting, will be in the top 5, it's amazing to see where we'll actually fall within that. But yeah, you have to feel like there's 3 players which the Habs should obviously go for the most, Macklin Celebrini for apparent reasons, but then besides that, I think the 2 players that the Montreal Canadiens that are really within striking distance of getting is Demidov and, of course, Cayden Lindstrom, right? Cayden Lindstrom, power forward, amazing shot. We need those goals. Cayden Lindstrom is the type of player that can do this. So amazing to see, we know with Bob McKenzie, our boy, he had him at number 5, which is where we're at right now. So it'll be interesting to see how that really progresses, right? These are, obviously 3 players I like a lot, he's definitely going to bring a lot for us, Cayden Lindstrom, but Demidov, I think, is so interesting just for the fact that it's so important to consider not just, whether it's a forward or defenseman, but it's what type of style of game did they play, right? We know that we already have a power forward in Slav, and it's not saying okay, getting Cayden Lindstrom is a bad thing. It's just on the power play, we're not going to have both Cayden Lindstrom and Slafkovsky in front of the net there, right? You want to get those complementary type of players, and it's not okay, having 2 power forwards is bad on your team, but having 3 is definitely kind of too much, right? It's okay to maybe to have it, but you want to get those complementary players. I would say with Cole Caufield, obviously we got the sniper, check. We got the 2-way player extraordinaire in Suzuki. We got the power forward obviously in Slap, but we're missing that pure skill guy. So I really feel Kent Hughes is considering not just, what position they play, but also the style, right? So I feel for those reasons, I think that Demidov would be an amazing choice as well.
If he's available where Montreal picks, I think they're definitely going to consider him. But I will say, when we're talking about championship level teams, almost every Stanley Cup winner is up there in top 5 in the NHL in total weight on their team, as in physical weight, as in how heavy they are. And having too many power forwards, as long as they have the skill to match, I feel like that could actually be a nice key. You even look at some of these guys, McKinnon's a big dude, right? These top scorers, you got Tampa, Kucherov's not the biggest, but they have someone like a Victor Hedman, who's one of their stars, who is also massive, above average for his position, right? So I think if it's possible to get a power forward that you truly believe has that skill, and you have, imagine running a lineup where Dach is big too. People forget that. You have Slav, you have Dach, you have Cayden Lindstrom, and on the back end, you have 6'4" David Reinbacher, you have Arber Xhekaj, you have Logan Mailloux. How terrifying must that be for other teams? But at the same time, Jesse, I agree. This power forward prototype, this guy like Kaiden Lindstrom, even Slafkovsky, they don't project to be those 110 point guys. Like, I guess very few people do, but they don't really have that kind of like, you don't feel like that's where they're going to get. Whereas someone like a Berkeley Catton or even an Ivan Demidov, like you see them and you're like, that's a skill guy. They have that 100-point upside if everything in the world goes right. So I really get your point, and that's kind of what Montreal needs. Like, yeah, you're very, like, I think that you can't have too much size, but you can't have too much size while giving up the idea of having like that high-end skill guy. And I think if you come down to that choice, Jesse, I think you're bang on the money that they're definitely going to want to get a skill guy. But yeah, you guys leave your comments. I see a lot of comments in here. I see a Seb saying live for real or pre-recorded, followed by Lindstrom sucks. Well, this is live, and we're live going to react to you saying Lindstrom sucks with we disagree. So I'm going to go through some more. A lot of people talking about Catton, really like it. Hey guys, how's it going? It's nice to see you guys. I've never seen you guys live before. Hey Josh, I'm from Newfoundland too. What part of Newfoundland are you from? Baxter, I am from St. John's, born and raised in St. John's. I'm a townie, as you can probably tell. I really don't have much of an accent at all, if anything. I can occasionally bring it out, but I didn't even grow up with one. My parents, well, dad is from about an hour outside St. John's. Mom is from St. John's. So anyway, that's that. But shout out to my fellow Newfoundlanders. We got Habs fan there, Newfoundlander too. There's a lot of people from Newfoundland in this chat. Everyone from Newfoundland, give a little message. St. John, says Mystic. Yeah, you know what? Like, I didn't choose it, right? Anyway, I also moved away. I live in Quebec City now, so it is what it is. But yeah, Jesse, I wanted to go over some other prospects, and if you guys leave some comments or something, and there's a lot of people talking about one prospect, we'll focus on them. There's one guy that we've talked about a bit before. I see one there from Timmy Stutzla 18. Wow, Tim, that's a strange name to be in a Habs stream. Shout out to you, Timmy Stutzla. But that's Xhekaj. It's someone that we talked a little bit about, but he's ranked at number 10 here on Sportsnet's most recent mock draft. Again, he's 5'11", 186. He's not huge. He's not as tanky as his dad was. He doesn't play that power forward style like his dad, but he's incredibly aggressive. He has an incredible shot, and he had a really, really good season with Kelowna. They said Iginla's continued to rise up the charts, didn't end in the regular season. He had a brilliant round one, but the Rockets have run into a much more difficult second round opponent. Iginla was phenomenal, scoring lots of goals in round one. Just a little note on Xhekaj, because I see some people talking about him, Jesse. What do you think about Xhekaj as a potential Habs prospect? Do you think that picking him at 5, 6, 7, if Montreal lands in that range, is too much of a stretch, or would you consider him up there with that upper echelon of guys for Montreal?
Well, it's interesting that Xhekaj is really trending up and that Kaiden Lindstrom is trending down, right? It's very surprising to actually see that. And Habs management, obviously, they like to keep their ear to the ground on this. And definitely for those late risers, that is going to be interesting. They're definitely going to be paying attention. Obviously, the pedigree is there. It's huge. When I look at Xhekaj, even though he's not like a power forward, for his compete level, though, I just see a guy that helps for winning hockey, which, again, I think is so important. You know, when we're looking at the big overall picture of a player, it's not just point, it's what's their overall impact on the game. And that's what I like about Kaiden Lindstrom. That's what I like about Xhekaj. These are guys with big motors. You know, they're coming out to play every single night, right? And I think that's so important. As Habs fans, we've sometimes had players in the past that sometimes mailing it in, right? So it's so refreshing that we're having a team right now where, for a large part, every single player is really giving her, and if not, they're standing out like a sore thumb. Like Marty is just straight up just not gonna have it at all, right? If there's one thing, he's a happy-go-lucky guy, but he wants the guys with the foot on the gas pedal, right? And I feel like Xhekaj, he is that type of player. There's the goal scoring again, which is what we need, right? I think kind of looking at that angle, right? The playmakers are great, but I think for this draft, we're going to look at somebody who can really put pucks at the back of the net, and that's definitely our boy Tish.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how Montreal fares here. Now, again, they're going to have another first-round pick later in the draft. It could be as high as 23. It could be as low as 32, depending on how good the Winnipeg Jets finish. 23 if pretty much they get knocked out right away, I believe. But again, if they win the Stanley Cup, it'll be 32nd. Just like the Habs kind of knew with that Florida pick, right? It ended up coming in at 31st. But yeah, very, very interesting draft. I'm going to have a look through the chat here, Jesse, before we move on to some of the talk about the Habs staff. Also, we had over 300 people in here just a second ago, and we're at 99 likes, guys. Come on, 300 of you. We got to get that number up. We really appreciate every single one of you. This is the highest we've had on these weekly Monday streams so far, so serious thank you to everyone in here. There are so many chats. Again, sorry if we don't get to your message. We will be responding to them in priority order for channel members or for donations. Again, I really apologize if we don't get to your message. We try to get through some, but we have topics we got to talk about too. I see a lot of people talking about Tej again. The people really like him. I see Rhino saying, "Where's Hockey Junkie?" Well, you know, we might just have a little collab coming in the next few weeks or months with Hockey Junkie. He's a friend of the channel, very much a friend of the channel. So if you're ever over on his channel, tell him Habs Digest sent you, because I think he'd appreciate that. We love Hockey Junkie over here, fellow Newfoundlander as well. He had a fantastic trip to Montreal recently. Super happy for him. So yeah, we're friends with a lot of the other Habs channels. Drew Deeks, he's been on the channel before. You guys know all these guys, right? So yeah, but hey, you know what? You guys are watching us right now, and we could not be more thrilled as we get a donation, Jesse, our first ever donation in euros, and that is from Planko with €1. Thank you so much, Planko, for the donation. Really appreciate it. If you got a message, I know you send messages in chat quite frequently. If you got another one there, if it comes up, I will read it. So thank you so much for the €1, Jesse. We might need to get some conversion factors. That's like 55 Canadian dollars, right? That's pretty crazy. So really unbelievable. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I wanted to get into one thing that we talked about in the video yesterday. Oh, I see Planko. There's Planko's message. Before we get to that, he said, there will be no second first-round pick. Kent will trade it like Dach. That is interesting. Okay, before we get into the Habs staff stuff, I think that talking about potential draft pick trades could be interesting. I think this Winnipeg pick is prime for the trading. Just like we did with Dach. Not just Dach. Just like we saw with Alex Newhook. Basically the exact same thing. Now the Dach stuff was Romanov, and it was some higher picks that ended, you know, Frank Nazar has been really good, and that's the pick that Montreal traded to get Dach. Fair enough. Oh, we got another super chat. We'll get to that right after this. I'm so sorry. We'll get to that in a minute. Thank you so much for the donation, Vincent. But Jesse, what are the odds do you think Montreal trades that Winnipeg pick, specifically that pick, in this upcoming draft?
I think depending on where we fall, that there might be a chance that we're using that our second first round pick to move up our first pick in that first round, right? To possibly target again, you know, whether that Demidov, you know, kind of player. Because again, you got a couple guys with the offense, their offensive play, and then a bunch of defensemen. So it seems like if you really want to get your guy on offense, depending on where we fall, we might need to move out. Of course, it'd be amazing if move up, though it might be amazing if Cayden Lindstrom is able to come to us at the fifth. But again, yeah, just because we have so many prospects at a certain point too, is they need this playing time, and it's that developmental spot that they're taking as well, right? And if you have too many of those, you're almost taking away from the development of other players at a certain point. It sounds almost ironic to say that drafting a player would hindrance any sort of development at a certain point, but when you have this many as Montreal does, it's absolutely the case, right? So you have to feel like we might want to add a little bit more vets, you know, this year, as we're slowly trying to win a little bit more. Obviously there's a correlation there between experience and winning those games, right? So, you know, you have to feel like I definitely wouldn't rule that out, but again, I'm looking at that first pick, if we have to, maybe using that to move up.
I think it could be really interesting. You know what I find funny? We're going to be looking at Montreal when they're in that cup contention window. Let's say 3, 4, I don't know how many years out. Let's say we're 3 or 4 years out. In 3 or 4 years, Nick Suzuki and Cole Caufield will be those veterans that have been to the Stanley Cup final. Isn't that crazy to think about? You don't even need to go get that Stanley Cup experience. You have the guys in-house who have already been there and done it all. Galley will probably still be around. I'd love to see him end his career as a Hab. You know, Jake Evans. There are guys here who have been to that final, so I think it's going to be really amazing. But Jesse, of course, we just finished one super chat. We got to get to the other one. We're not going to forget about you, Vincent Jolicoeur. Just simply says, keep up the good work, guys. Love watching. Well, we love having you here, Vincent. We love having every single one of you. 316 people in the stream with us, of us just chatting about the Habs, chatting about the draft. Thank you so much for the donation. Again, if you have a question, anything you want us to talk about, we absolutely will. If you send another message in the chat, it is what it is. Thank you so much. I see so many people in here. Dax Firebreath, I've seen you around here a lot before. For you, says Vincent Hype, yes, for sure. Derek saying Marty Natchez, I think that could be great. Derek makes an interesting thing. He said Hughes calls Berkey, calls Mark Bergevin, says Logan Mailloux for Quinton Byfield. That would never happen, but Jesse. Well, I mean, that'd be hilarious because Bergevin clearly, you know, I get it. I just wanted to bring this up before we get into the final thing. People have talked about, look how good Quinton Byfield's doing after a couple of years of really not doing it. This is how we should model Slav, right? Quinton Byfield had the exact same goal total as Slaf this year and just had 5 more assists. Quinton Byfield had 20 goals, 35 assists this season. Slaf had 20 goals, 30 assists after a bad first start of the year. Their stats were almost identical, and Slaf is 2 years younger. And we were trying to use Byfield as that barometer for look what he could turn into. Slaf is basically already what Byfield is. Now, I know Byfield has some other good elements to his game. I would say he is a bit more physical than Slaf at this stage because he's a couple of years older. Of course, he's learned. But we used him as that example to look how long it takes bigger guys to get into that NHL level type of game, right? But Slaf is basically already there. How impressive is that the guy that we were using as the gauge early on in the season, Slaf has basically come right up and matched him already.
He's breaking the mold, and not just, passing Byfield in a lot of ways, but also, passing Mikko Rantanen, which we were using to gauge his progression, right? And we were saying, as we were tracking this, like, we want to keep visiting these updated, Slavs, as we end up calling the Slav graphs, because we knew that the way he was tracking, he was going to that he was going to overtake him, that he was going to pass him, right? So absolutely unreal. Like, these aren't no slouches of comparisons, right? Like, these are really, really solid players, right? And then considering also the physical aspect, like Byfield, that Slav brings, with the point totals, surpassing Rantanen in the same amount of games, Jack Hughes, who gets so much love. That's why I love being on this show today. That's why I love having the fans that we do. Thank you so much for being here. We need to give love to our players because sometimes they don't quite get enough. You think that Montreal, that, kind of gets the rap for being hard on players and stuff like that, but we know that we have amazing players. And I think sometimes it's getting to a point now where they're not getting as much respect as they should. We've seen on Sportsnet, we've seen the disrespect. We're here to give them the love that they deserve, and the numbers really back it up, and we just thank everybody for being here and being a part of that.
The positivity is what we love to spread, right? I mean, look, we're negative when we need to be, but we try to stay realistic while staying optimistic, because why would we be negative? You guys come here. It's fun to be excited about the team, right? Even if things aren't going the right way, it's fun to have some of that hope. And, sometimes it gets pulled out from under you, like if you're a Leafs fan. But hey, that's not what we are here. We're looking towards the future. It's going to be amazing. I'm sure a lot of us are going to be watching Toronto versus Boston this whole series. Game 1, I don't even know who I want to see win. I think it's more funny that Toronto keeps losing than it is how much, like, me not wanting Boston. Anyway, well, we can maybe get into
Boston
that later.
won.
But well, yeah. But here's okay. We got to get into the final thing because we said we were going to talk about this from the beginning, and we talked about it in yesterday's video. I'm not going to say rudely interrupted. We got so kindly interrupted by super chats. Thank you so much again for all of you who have donated during this stream. Unbelievable support. Thank you. But this is the Habs coaching staff. Now, where is this picture? This is something we talked about yesterday, right? And I wanted to bring this up with this live audience because I think you guys will have a lot of input that, myself and Jesse, we talk about the team all the time. We look at the coaching staff. We have lots of input on what we think. But I know you guys have a lot of thoughts about the coaching staff, especially guys like, maybe not so much Slafkovsky, but Alex Burrows, Stéphane Robida, and even JF Uhl down in Laval. And so with Martin St. Louis sticking around, all indications seem to be that the rest of this coaching staff is going to stick around with him, and no veterans are going to be brought in, like no veteran coaches, senior coaches are going to be brought in to adjust. I don't know if I like the idea that we're not going to bring anyone in. I get the idea of, like, this is a new generation, but one thing we haven't seen yet is how they fare in this X's and O's in really meaningful games. And hey, I get it. You can't judge it until you see it. Maybe once the Habs become competitive and they're getting into these games and there's certain aspects that they still see as weaknesses, maybe then Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton go make a move and bring in a more veteran presence. I think that's actually very reasonable as well. You react. You maybe don't act preemptively because there's a lot of really talented coaches. But Jesse, what are your thoughts again? Now, we kind of talked about this yesterday. My thoughts are that, like, I think a senior coach is going to come in eventually, and I think that maybe we should look to add something else to the special teams just because it still hasn't performed well. I know the roster's not great, but I'd like to see something different. Not that Alex Burrows is doing a terrible job or anything, and I don't think he should be canned, but I think maybe some different looks could be good. I don't know. What are your thoughts? I'd love to hear everyone's thoughts in this live chat as well. Let's hear it.
There's a lot of movement when it comes to NHL coaches. We can see in Montreal, we've actually been sheltered from this quite a bit. But if you look at teams across the league, there is a lot of movements with coaches basically every year. So I think it is reasonable to expect that coming up over the next course of years. We want to evaluate what we have first, right? I think, special teams, Alex Burrows is probably the most on the hot seat there, right? But if he can turn it around, then obviously he's going to keep this position and we'll move forward with the crew that we have right now. But you have to feel like kind of similar to how they will acquire free agent. Maybe if it's not kind of this summer, let's say next summer they go out for their big free agent. I could see kind of that big sign of the free agent. We're really going for winning now. The rebuild is over. Legit. Kent is confirming this in press conferences. Then it's on like Donkey Kong. And there I could see, okay, maybe getting in like another coach just for that added experience in the playoffs. Again, somebody that would have to be very complimentary to Marty. We know that this is Marty's show, but as long as that dynamic could be in place where it's there kind of as a counselor, as an advisor, but we know who is the head coach of this team, I could see a situation like that fitting really well. I want to give the benefit to Alex Burrows, but I will have to say over the last couple of years, the special teams has been something that's definitely been lacking in Montreal. We've tried a couple things with the power play that I've liked, a couple of the new looks and things like that we've started to kind of expand. And, in his defense is that we haven't really been even doing that much innovative new stuff. That was only over the second part of this season when we even saw new looks on the power play, because as Marty St. Louis said, he was focusing on other elements of the team, really getting that up to snuff, which for me actually makes sense. You want to take care of your 5-on-5 play first before jumping into the power play, your fundamentals first. But of course, in the NHL, it is very important, right? So that's going to be a thing next year. It's not like, Alex Burrows is completely impervious to any sort of criticism whatsoever. We expect this team to take jumps up, but I feel like Kent Hughes is also going to be doing some personnel moves to kind of help that as well as with the development of this young team that is going to move this forward as well. And that way we'll probably be able to make a better judgment call.
Yeah, it's as much as we want to say we know what the answer is, or like, well, I guess we're not really saying that, but yeah, it's there's still a lot left to be seen. And I think that just taking a look and observing how Montreal performs this year and how they perform in the next coming years with this kind of staff, I feel like that's what's really going to help open our eyes to this whole situation, right? I think we're really going to want to be talking about this more next summer, even though everyone's due for the extension this summer. But I think we look next summer at maybe bringing someone else in. And I don't know about firing, but like you can fire people if things are really going wrong. I don't anticipate that to be the case, but you never know. I think after this season, we'll get a better idea of those competitive games. And after that next season, that's when we really see things start to come together. And hey, that's right about when Marty's contract is going to be coming up and you start thinking about that. So I think we got time before we need to worry about that. I think everyone's going to get re-signed. I don't see any reason to let him go. We'll see what Kent and Jeff Gorton do, but hey, it is what it is. Jesse, I see Vincent actually, he left a chat there. I know he donated earlier. I really like when Montreal St. Louis puts the players back on the ice after a goal. Shows that he's focused on development. Well, that's one thing too, right? And, Marty is great at that. And even Marty said, I'll stick around as long as they have me. But that's one of those things we're not sure if that's going to translate to that winning playoff style of hockey. I don't see why it wouldn't, but that's where some concerns are. But Jesse, we got another super chat. We're getting right near the end of the stream. Really appreciate everyone stopping by. This one a little longer than we thought, but we'll keep going. Your guys' support's been amazing. This is from Ikram. He says playoffs next season. Well, he said ploffs. I know what you're talking about. Next season, boys. Let's go. I can't wait. Imagine, Jesse. Imagine if this team makes the playoffs. Like, again, I think they might need to make a big splash at the draft or with a trade this offseason, but I don't think playoffs is completely out of the realm of possibility. How like excited? I don't know for me. I got super hyped because I watched part of that Vancouver game last night. And I watched the highlights. That barn was the loudest crowd I've ever seen except for the Bell Center. And honestly, I'm seeing a lot of other fans saying that too. They're saying like, hey, that Vancouver crowd is like louder than any crowd except Montreal that I've ever seen. How great would it feel to see just Montreal score that playoff goal for the first time in front of a full crowd in years? Just to have that big pop, to see finally we made it back. Our young guys are turning that corner. I'm like, I get myself hyped up just thinking about it.
I'm getting chills just think about it as well right now, brother. That's it. The horn just going off, the crowd just being so loud. This I feel like this team, this fan base, they really deserve it. And when it comes, they're going to be ready, and it's just really going to be so sweet, right? But I think one of the reasons why we will have playoff success once we do get there is the chemistry. It's that organization. I feel like chemistry, it goes a long way in the playoffs. It's ups and downs, it's battles. It's how can you really stay together close as a team, through these adversities that really kind of determines how, the end result will be. But just looking at the first line, there's amazing chemistry with Slav, with Cole, with Nick, but you have to feel like there's almost going to be that amazing chemistry. I'm just feeling it with Dach and with Newhook. Like, these are going to be two electric players, I feel, that are going to go so well together. You've got an amazing passer playmaker in Kirby Dach, who I think is really going to be able to get Alex Newhook in lanes with speed, feeding him with the puck, this transition
Lanes
type of play, right? Exactly. So that's why I'm excited, as we're getting close. It's like this whole organization, this whole chemistry up and down of a team really willing to battle for each other night in, night out, that I think makes it so excited as we're looking forward to the playoffs here.
I mean, just that pop, that crowd pop, like, seeing some people say, like, someone was like, I thought, Undertaker coming back at WrestleMania 40 was going to be the biggest crowd pop of the year until they heard that Vancouver Canucks goal. By the way, weird shout out. If you guys like wrestling content, I also host on Wrestle Digest. It should be linked somewhere. Go check out Wrestle Digest, and myself and a couple buddies, Casey and Brady, host some wrestles. I don't know if you guys are into that. I'm sure a lot of you probably aren't, but yeah, just a little side note in case you are. I saw a Habs Digest fan in the comments the other day. They left a comment calling me an influencer. Don't we'll leave it there. But yeah, Jesse, I think we're gonna get close to wrapping it up. But I did see John Smith asking, "Love the show, guys. Are you doing a lottery special, mock draft, anything like that? Would love to hear you cover that." Oh yes, we are. There'll be plenty of videos on the draft lottery as it's coming up, and we will also be live for the draft lottery. I still don't know what day it is. I think it's gonna be May 6th or 7th, but I don't even think the NHL's officially announced it. But when that happens, we'll go live just like we did last year, 100%. And yeah, we're going to be doing like mock draft stuff like that. And our weekly Monday live streams are still going to be going on. So you can fully expect live streams for the draft lotto, for the actual draft. Every single Monday, we're still going to be here. And it's going to be super exciting. I see some people, why watch wrestling when MMA exists? Entertainment, storytelling. That's the answer. I don't need to answer that. John actually says, do you guys have a Patreon? Jesse, no, we don't have a Patreon. We've been thinking about it. But realistically, like, I don't know. It might be something that we consider in the future. John, of course, you are such a big supporter. Thank you for even asking that question. Is it something you guys would be interested in? Like, I'm just going to ask that now since we're getting near the end of the stream. Would you guys be interested in paying like a monthly fee to get some extra behind the scenes Habs Digest content, maybe some longer form videos or some exclusive stuff, some exclusive posts, tiers, maybe giveaways, stuff like that on Patreon? If you'd be interested, leave a comment here now, or if you're watching the video, leave a comment here after, because we'd love to hear from you. But we honestly just like doing this because you guys love watching us, right? We record these videos every day. I don't know, Jesse, what do you think? You maybe some extra content if some people are interested?
Yeah, for sure. Maybe having a video chat as well, just kind of getting to know each other as well and things like that. So yeah, no, we love interacting. It's honestly one of the favorite parts of what we do. So, I think that we should definitely look into that, Josh.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there is a Discord, which you don't really promote a whole lot, but if you guys want to join the Discord now, we are not super active in the Discord, but there's a lot of other great Habs fans who are in the Discord. You can link that down below. And yeah, that'd be pretty great if you guys want to talk with some other people. And yeah, we can definitely debate it. Jesse, we got a big super chat. We got $13.99 from Jordan Saylor. Jordan, you didn't even leave a chat. You just put someone dancing. Thank you so much. Such a big donation. Really appreciate that. If you have any question, any comments, leave it in the chat and we will answer that in priority. Unbelievable. Thank you. That's crazy. It's the top donation of the stream. Unbelievable. We still got 230 people here. Yeah, some 0.05 euros. Yeah. Blanco's donation actually might still top it with that €1. Jordan, you are absolutely the man. Thank you. Unbelievable. I actually see John saying 100% would support a Patreon. That's good to know. Zachary says, why don't you make it a one-time access to everyone? Kind of like tease it and then do that. One-time access as in what? Maybe I'm missing something. I'm probably missing something. It's getting later in the day. And I saw someone say, well, you can do all that here on YouTube. Yeah, like you can do a lot of the stuff here on YouTube, but some people prefer Patreon because it's, I guess, a little more private kind of stuff. Like we do have like channel members, and we can make channel member specific posts, stuff like that as well. It's just something we've thought about. Nothing we've gone too deep into, but definitely something. Well, I mean, yeah, it just some really really interesting stuff. Oh, for the digest access, yeah, like a one-time fee, and kind of say, that could be interesting. Well, there's a lot to think about, Jesse. I think, well, these are awesome ideas from everyone here in chat. We still have 230 people here. I guess we're gonna get near the end of the stream now, Jesse. We've been going for almost an hour. This went for a lot longer than we expected, but yeah, I'm just super grateful, thankful for everyone here in this stream. I mean, yeah, unbelievable stuff for tuning in on a Monday night, guys. Thank you.
Absolutely, having so much fun as well, and we love all the comments as well. I think there's a lot of big takeaways when we started hearing, a lot of Habs fans talking about Guhle, talking about Cayden. Like, we know how educated you guys are, how seriously you take your hockey. So it's like a lot of these takes. It's often what's so nice about this channel is what you see come up a lot. There's something often to take away from that. If a lot of our fans are talking about Cayden, talking about Guhle, Lindstrom, there's something to be said about that, right? So it's so nice that we have a space where we can really kind of divulge and really get to the nitty gritty. What is the best? What are Habs fans really thinking across the board, right? I think there's some interesting takes there. And I mean, as hockey fans, as lovers of the game, I mean, we just love hearing it.
Yeah, unbelievable. I see Manny coming in saying, "What are you at, guys? What are you at, Manny? How's it going? How's she going?" You caught us right at the end of the stream, but yeah, just amazing stuff. He said, Jesse gives everyone what they want to see. Oh, Jesse, give everyone what they want to see. Lettuce, lettuce, lettuce. I mean, you used to have lettuce. Not since we started the channel, but, what do you think about bringing it back? I don't think you can in the heat there.
Oh man, I think, no, you got to switch it up sometimes, maybe I'll let it grow a little bit there. I know I cut the beard there recently, but yeah, we'll see. Well, maybe I have to switch it up a little bit.
And meanwhile, I got to cut my lettuce. It's getting long, but yeah, it is what it is. I see some people asking for a podcast. This is also on Spotify, guys. I mean, if you guys ever want to watch, well, not the streams don't go on Spotify, but all our regular videos. I know they're only 10 or 12 minutes, but if you want your daily dose of Habs content, just check out Spotify, because those get posted right as the videos get posted. Maybe save it for the next morning. It's not a big hour long. Maybe we could do an hour-long Habs podcast. Not something we've really thought to do, because the audience, like, obviously isn't as big, but hey, if enough people demand it, maybe we think about it. But yeah, Jesse, this was awesome. I see a question. I will be back on Monday live again. Did it start at 6 p.m.? Or so Newfoundland time? No, it's 6:15 p.m. Eastern, 7:45 p.m. Newfoundland time. 6:15 just works well for both of us. Of course, we both work in the day, so this is the time we do it. So if you guys want to be back next week, 6:15, really appreciate it. Ikram says, rock the flow for the playoffs. When Montreal makes it, maybe I will. But I guess that'll do it, Jesse. Any parting words for the lovely fans?
No, I had a great time again, and can't wait to see you guys all again live next Monday.
Let's do it next Monday. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. And on your way out, leave a like on the stream. We got 227 still here. Let's try and get those likes up to 200. I don't know if we can do it, but if you guys could try and help us, that would be amazing. That'll do it for this live episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate all your guys' support, and we can't wait to see you back here live next Monday, 6:15 Eastern. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.